You're listening to JTE Movie Thinks. Is that the title? Is that correct grammar? All right, we'll go with it. It's a show about movies and thinking. And now, here's your host, every man's hero, JTE.
Sara Stretton, say hello.
Hello. Just getting off of our show there.
Yeah, this is exciting, I think, for people because while you are on After Buzz, you do a lot of after shows, right? Mm-hmm. Very well known for Game of Thrones.
That's my favorite.
That's your favorite. And, Box Office Breakdown. And the fans have seen you on the Schmoes Know Show.
Uh-huh.
But you are not what we call a social internet person. Like,
in quotes.
Yeah, in quotes. As we say often, you don't have Twitter.
No.
So you don't always get a chance to interact with the fans, a lot.
Not a ton. I'm kind of a homebody. But I'll go to the movies. I watch movies. I do that. I'm so bad at the internet.
Okay.
Like, you've been, putting all this stuff together. I have no idea what you're doing. I don't understand how this microphone's working. It's, I'm technology illiterate.
Well, one of the things I love doing on Twitter is I love talking about a movie I just watched. Okay. So a lot of times I'll be like, I just watched this. Man, I haven't seen this in so long. Such a good movie. And whenever I go see a new movie, like I saw Fast 7, I tweet immediately afterwards my Schmoes score, which is between 1 and 5. So I go, I liked this for so-and-so. I feel like, if you were on Twitter, people would be like, oh, Sarah saw this week. Okay. Which is going to make this episode really fun for me because they're going to get a little window into what kind of movies you watch. And,
I am feeling the Twitter pressure.
You are? You feeling the Twitter pressure?
I feel like if there's a Twitter ceiling, it's getting lower and lower and lower
nice.
and closer to my head, so it might happen soon.
All right, so how this show works, Sarah, like I told you, basically I have people on here. I don't know what movie we're going to talk about today. I leave that up to my guest. I say, what is the last movie you watched from beginning to end, whether maybe you're on a plane, you're traveling back from somewhere. Maybe you're on a bus or you're traveling somewhere and you're watching on your iPad. Maybe you're at home and you throw the Netflix on or you throw in a DVD you haven't watched in a long time. So that's usually how this works. So I'm really curious to hear, what's the last movie you watched?
I watched a movie last night.
Okay, so this is fresh.
Yes, in celebration of the family with the holidays this weekend.
Okay, see?
We watched a family-oriented film.
What is this going to be? Because this is listen, let's just say something. What's one thing when you watch a movie on your own? I'll watch, a hardcore action movie or a drama. But when you get the family together, it fits you almost to a certain category of movies that you're going to watch.
I think you try and pick a crowd pleaser.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Okay.
So we picked Pitch Perfect.
Okay.
Have you seen this movie?
I have not seen Pitch Perfect.
I got one that you haven't
You got
seen.
one. This has only happened a couple times on the show. I will say, even though I have not seen it, I've caught snippets of it on HBO.
Okay.
And this is one of those movies, and I'm going to sound horrible saying this, but when I originally saw a trailer, I said, this movie was not made for me. But to the movie's credit, I know a lot of guys that like this movie.
I know a lot of guys who like this movie.
Yeah.
That's why it was picked for the family. I mean, yes, dominated by girls in my family. Mm-hmm. It's one of those ones we can sucker my stepdad into watching. Okay. And I mean, this movie is getting a sequel. People loved it.
Very true.
And so you need to watch it so you can catch up. Because it is coming back to the box office.
Let me ask you this. So the movie, I'm going to tell you what I basically know what the plot is, and you could correct me. I know Elizabeth Banks has a part in the film, but she's not the star. I believe it's Anna Kendrick.
Anna Kendrick's the star.
Yeah, and I also know Elizabeth Banks is directing the sequel because she produced the first one. So this is just some of the background stuff I know. So in the movie, Anna Kendrick joins a Glee-type group who just kind of sing. They don't make their own music. They do hits, right?
They do their hits, but Anna Kendrick is special because she is very good at arranging mashups.
Oh, okay,
so,
hit songs.
Taking two songs and being able to overlay them.
Okay.
But that's not how it starts. It's very much the whole drama of she goes to college and she joins this a cappella group, but she's kind of forced into it and she doesn't like it. But of course, by the end, she's all about it, and they're this one happy family of girls who goes on to win. It's feel good music.
Is it Bring It On but with a cappella? Yes. Did I nail it on the head there?
Yes, but instead of a rival sassy squad, it's a group of guys who have an acapella group.
So it's a co-ed competition.
It's a co-ed competition.
Okay.
So there's all guy groups, there's all girl groups, and then there's co-ed groups.
Okay.
You have to also understand that I probably have a little bit of a tendency to like this movie because like I used to sing a cappella.
Oh, really?
And I used to like sing and do choirs, so I really like the musical aspect to this movie.
All right, everybody. Sarah's about to do a cappella. No, just joking. Okay, so you have attachment to the material a little bit, like something you can relate to.
Yeah, and I went to college, and there's like this whole kind of almost like fraternity sorority element to it.
Were you in a sorority?
I was.
Oh man, okay.
See, so I was in a sorority.
Okay.
In high school, I did a cappella.
Okay.
I'm a nerd.
Wow, I don't know. That's sorority a cappella. Like,
Yeah,
that's a mix.
Yeah, so that's kind of what the movie is. It's like they transform these a cappella groups into like they kind of have the vibe of a sorority or fraternity, so you can like get kicked out and there's all this like pressure. And like any high school or college or teen movie whatsoever, it's like all of these things are so important.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
Like it's like, you know, when you go to high school and it's like prom is the most important day ever. It's like this a cappella competition is more important than any other like catastrophe in film.
Now, do me a favor, because like I said, a lot of guys like this movie that I know have admitted to me like they love this movie. Ethan Irwin, who was on the Schmoes Know Show last week, loved the first one. And he can't wait for the sequel. Somebody like me who has not seen it, can you explain to me like, why you think guys like this movie? Is it because of the comedy? Is it what? Can you pinpoint?
It's. I can't deny that it's a cheesy film. It's
okay,
very cheesy.
So it is cheesy.
But the thing that it does is it, in my opinion, it makes fun of itself.
Okay. Oh, see, there you go.
And it has a rewatchability factor because there's always like so many random things going on in the background of this film. Like there's like guys like they don't draw attention to. They're not like zeroing in on the guy falling off a unicycle. But there's a guy falling off a unicycle in the background. Or like you mentioned Elizabeth Banks, she does have a role, not a major character, but her sense of humor, it's very ridiculous, like very misogynistic jokes.
What is her role exactly?
They're judges.
Oh, she's a judge.
She's a judge, and so her only scenes are when they have competitions.
Is it kind of like she's commentating while they're doing?
She's a
so it's like,
and they'll like make jokes where it's like, oh, this women's group doesn't have any chance of being good, just like they don't have any chance of being good doctors. Like the jokes are really like bad and it's just like fluffed off. It's kind of like her role in Hunger Games where she's like a trinket, and it's like things are just like so ridiculous. Obviously, this like her lines are crazy. Like if you saw them written out, you'd be like, I can't say this, but they like fluff them off.
When you describe this, it's kind of like there's a movie called Best in Show. Have you ever seen this? Remember the guy that is, what's his name?
The dog show. The dog, and he's like such a nerd with his glasses, and you've got woman from Legally Blonde.
But there's the judges who are commentating throughout it, and he's just making the most ridiculous jokes.
Like offhand remarks, and you're just like,
he has like no idea what he's talking about.
Saying this, and no one's noticing.
Is that kind of what Elizabeth Banks does?
Yes.
This? Okay, so that's what clicked in my mind there.
Yeah. No, but so the whole movie is just like, it's fun, and the music's good, and like there are points in the plot that are ridiculous, where you're kind of like, why is this person blowing up? Why is this such a big deal? There is a scene where a girl makes a snow angel in vomit.
Okay. That sounds ridiculous. And let's talk about one of the breakout stars of this movie is the girl, the blonde.
The comedian.
That was the comedian. She was in Bridesmaids.
She's in Bridesmaids. She did like a whole spiel on like Chelsea Handler.
And she had a whole ABC show for a while called like Party Night or something like that. Something weird.
Her character in Pitch Perfect is called Fat Amy.
Fat Amy, okay.
And kind of describes to you the nature of this film.
Yeah.
Like when she's introduced, she goes, they're like, what's your name? She's like, Fat Amy.
Okay.
And she's like, I just embrace it. So like, twig whatever people don't say behind my back. And her humor is great throughout the entire thing.
Is it kind of Chris Farley-esque? Is it a lot of physical humor, or is it more just kind of like Bridesmaids? Okay.
There's a lot of physical humor, but she kind of hits it on every note. Like she has lines that are just out there. She has parts where she's doing like mermaid dancing and who knows what, like how much of her stuff was ad-libbed, I don't know, but I kind of give her credit for it. She just has that sense where I feel like she just started throwing in lines and they were like, we're keeping it.
So when they put on these a cappella, I'm guessing they're almost like play routines, kind of like...
Have you never seen an a cappella show?
No, I can't say I have. Is it kind of like a live music video in a way, almost? Because you're describing a mermaid. I picture them doing like this really elaborate like play music video thing, but on stage.
Well, this was like a whole like wave of thing. Like the a cappella groups with Glee and movies like Pitch Perfect and like all of those shows that you get now, like American Idol and the teams. It's like
I don't watch any of them. I never watched Glee.
It's like its own genre.
Okay.
But I did it. I used to perform and dance, and it's really hard.
Really?
Because it's singing and dancing, but oftentimes, like in the movie, they're like mic'd, but oftentimes you're not really mic'd, and you have to do it all at once. But people are fascinated by it, and it's there's a girl who I went to school with who's actually in Pitch Perfect.
Oh, really?
And that's why I first saw this movie. It's because she's technically in the a cappella group, but she doesn't have a ton of lines. And she's a singer, and she was on there was an actual competition that they had on TV, an a cappella competition,
they actually
and she won that. And then she went from there to doing this movie.
Okay.
But it's like based off of real things, like to
interesting
a movie extreme.
So it's definitely a comedy, you'd categorize it.
Yes.
But
cheesy, family comedy.
I do love movies that have the competitive nature to it. Like when a team comes together. I mean, I love Revenge of the Nerds. One of my favorite part of that movie is when they come together and they have to do this whole triathlon and doing all these different things together. But the movies like Mighty Ducks, I'm trying to think like A Mighty Wind, which is another Christopher Guest movie, where the whole movie you get to know the characters and it all builds up to the last 30 minutes is the competition. And does that movie follow that stable?
I mean, kind of. I mean, there's definitely... You have the whole battle going on where it's like the queen bee of the a cappella group.
Gotcha.
And then you have Anna Kendrick's character, who's the one who didn't want to be there and who's like the rebel, but who really has like the insight on how to make the group good.
Is there a love interest for her? I'm guessing there is.
On the rival.
On the rival
a cappella team that she has sworn an oath not to have a relationship with.
Okay.
Because that's one of the conditions on being on her a cappella group.
Played by anybody famous or semi-famous?
No, but he kind of reminds me of Makuga.
Really? Josh Makuga. Interesting. Oh.
I don't know why I think that.
I wonder if Makuga watched this movie. He probably has.
It's like he's a very... I don't know why he reminds me of him. He just does.
Okay.
So I was like, it kind of looks like Makuga. But, he does this whole, like, dancing spiel. He's, like, the other lead guy, but they, like each other. Obviously, and in the end, they, like, kiss, and it's all happy.
It's all happy. One thing a lot of the guys I say who do like this movie always bring up the guys from Workaholics. It's apparently one of them or two of them are in the movie?
Yeah, they're, like, in the...
And those guys are hilarious. Do they bring their kind of humor into this movie, or are they just
I would say, yeah, there's all around people bringing jokes. I think that the people who steer the spotlight for humor are definitely, like, Elizabeth Banks, and for me.
Yeah,
for me, because those are, like, the most, they're just in the background, but it's, like, every single line they sing, I know that they filmed it all in, like, one day.
Oh,
and
really?
It's just Elizabeth Banks and her co-star, they filmed, like, all their scenes in, like, one day.
Oh, wow.
Because they're just really commentators. They're just, like, in a booth, like, commentating with each other. And they're ridiculous.
Just a lot of improv going back and forth, probably.
That's what it seems like. It seems like a lot of this movie was just, like, kind of, guys, go have fun. We're gonna put together a very stereotypical plot of outcast becomes included, creates one big happy family, and the love interest gets away. There's nothing unpredictable that really happens in this movie.
Okay.
But it's still fun. And I think that that's good. You can have movies that are like that.
Let me ask you a question. We were talking about this today on Box Office Breakdown, which we do every Monday, breaking down the box office numbers. We're doing movies that like made $1 billion in the box office. A lot of them were comedies where we all said the first movie was so great and almost never does the sequel live up to it. And could be for most comedies. So are you worried that this is just going to be, it's not going to come close to the first movie?
That's something I'm always worried about.
History is not on your side, Sarah.
That's something I always worry about. Especially because this isn't being drawn off of anything. I think the first one was off of a book.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the first one was like somewhat off of a book, but I don't think there's a sequel. So they're really pulling this off of the fact that this movie had so much popularity and people liked it. It's hard to say if it's going to be good.
Has there been a full trailer for part 2?
I haven't seen it.
Okay. So I was wondering if maybe you had some footage to go off of.
No, but you're talking about some of their characters were in their senior year, and I am not a fan of when they like bring them back as like the teacher.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's like you're going to be losing some key components to your cast.
Okay.
And then you have stars like Anna Kendrick, who I'm guessing will come back. She's made this whole career out of musicals now.
Yeah, I never knew she have a background in musicals. Because, I mean, she was Into the Woods. Now this, I mean...
Well, Pitch Perfect was first, and
yes,
then she was Cinderella, and then she was doing, she did like an indie the last 5 years, which is off a Broadway musical, and made a ton of money in like the indie circuit.
Oh,
and that
I had no idea.
came out in the past 3-4 months, and it's a really good show.
Okay.
Movie, I have mixed feelings about.
Mm-hmm.
She did a really good job in it.
She's a solid actress. But I never knew she had such a musical background. Or I don't know if she does.
She has, well, as of now, she does. She's worked with so many people. And if you look at her, she's even said in interviews that she's, like, fine with being labeled as that for now.
Really?
She's fine with doing all these musical numbers. Like, the first thing I remember seeing her in was she was a very small role in the Twilight series.
Oh, see, here's the thing. I never saw those movies. So my introduction to her was Up in the Air.
Okay.
With George Clooney, which was one of my favorite movies that year.
I almost watched that.
You almost watched it too?
Yeah,
it's such a good movie.
That was on our list for last night, and we were like, we can't watch this.
It's so good. And then I saw her in 50-50 with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I thought she was great. Again, a lot of supporting roles, but she was great.
See, I have followed, I think, kind of her mainstream route.
Okay.
Which was, she was a
Twilight.
she was a really small role in Twilight, comedic role.
Okay.
But she did that, and then it really went through the Pitch Perfect thing, through Cinderella, finding out about her. And, like, I don't think of her as Up in the Air.
Yeah.
I think of her as much more this comedic, almost like teen genre film star.
We went down two totally different roads because I have not seen Twilight, I have not seen Into the Woods, I have not seen Pitch Perfect. So when I see her, I think of like this indie actress. She was also in Drinking Buddies.
Yes.
Which I really like too. So I think
I
of
was
her.
not a huge fan of Drinking Buddies. I saw it, but it's like kind of faded from my memory.
Oh, really? Well, our very first episode of JTE Movie Thinks was with Ken Knapsack. And that's the movie we talked about, was Drinking Buddies.
Drinking Buddies? Who else is in that? Olivia Wilde?
Olivia Wilde.
I like the guy in it.
Jake Johnson.
Is that his name?
Jake Johnson from New Girl.
Is that
I think it's Jake Johnson.
Yeah,
if I'm wrong, guys, let me know.
Crucify him, not my fault.
So I see her as like this small indie actress, and you kind of see her as totally different.
I mean, I've seen her in indie films.
Yeah.
Like, I saw her in Drinking Buddies, and I saw her in the last 5 years, which are definitely, I think, projects she cares about, and she did a lot of interviews. It's just, I don't think that's the name she has right now, or the weight that she's carrying. I think she has the potential. I think she's a really good actress. Obviously, she's a good singer. So I look forward to seeing her in other movies. I don't want to pigeonhole her and be like, you're stuck in musicals. That is kind of how I see her, though. Well,
because I didn't see the movie, let me ask you something. When you left Pitch Perfect the first time you saw it, did you feel like, oh, I would like to see a sequel of this? Or was it one of those things when you heard a sequel, you're like, oh, they're making a sequel? Oh, that could be fun.
I very rarely, want a sequel.
Really?
Or, there are ones if I have, unanswered questions. Or if I know the world's big enough.
Okay.
I think that I'm kind of one of those people who's I'm fine with,
really?
Comic book hero, expanding those worlds when you get the multiples. I love just a single film.
Okay.
And I feel like that's lost so much now.
I agree.
And we're always pushing for sequels. And I am also one of those people who believes that there's a lot of really good original material out there. That's good for new opportunities and for new writers. And I kind of want to see more of those being made than us always recycling. And then it's just taking a step in the wrong direction that just keeps on falling. Because you make 2, and then you make 3, and then you make 4, then I'm sick of it.
There's going to be a Pitch Perfect Part 4 straight to VHS, DVD, whatever. It's just going to happen.
There's going to be the Pitch Perfect meets the people from Glee, and that becomes the rivalry film. And I'm like, don't do that. You had a great film, and you've created some fun, wonderful careers. Let it stand instead of let's exploit it for all the money it's worth. And then I just don't like it as much.
So when you initially heard they were making a sequel, were you like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see it? Or were you just like, oh, they don't really need that?
No, it's always the fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Good. Fingers crossed. I'll see it. I will see this sequel.
Of course.
But who knows? Now you have to go see it before you see the sequel.
I wonder if it's on HBO Go or Netflix or something.
I'm sure.
I can't see myself running out to buy it. But if I can find it streaming somewhere, I'll give it a watch.
Really? With your DVD collection? Not gonna have this one?
I know. I don't have too many a cappella films, so that'd be a whole new section in my collection. Has there ever been an a cappella film besides there's been musical movies about music competitions, right? Sister Act 2 comes to mind.
That's what comes to your mind first.
That's the first thing that came to my mind. Well, not a musical, a movie that's about musical competition. Because that's really what it is, right?
I'm just thinking of TV shows where you've got
Glee and stuff.
Yeah, that really
Voice.
took over. Exactly. You've got Voice, you've got American Idol, you've got so many things that. Then there was like the ones where it was groups singing, and they're always doing
School
a
Rock.
competition.
School Rock's a pretty cool movie. It's about a teacher who brings them to a competition and.
For personal means.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
Good movie though.
But yeah, great movie. So, all right, Pitch Perfect. I guess the deal is here. I need to watch it sometime.
I totally won. I kind of was wondering if I was going to spoil you.
And
I watched like 6 movies last week. And I was
6
like,
movies?
Yeah.
Wow, that's more than me. Jeez.
Back to the Future.
Oh, amazing.
Pride and Prejudice.
Never seen it.
You've never seen Pride and Prejudice?
Nope. Sorry.
See, I can't really fault you for not seeing Pitch Perfect. I don't blame you for that.
So
The
Pride
fact
and
you
Prejudice?
haven't seen Pride and Prejudice is
I feel like that movie's been made a few times, though. Which version did you see? The recent one?
2005.
Is that the one with Keira Knightley?
Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley, okay.
It's really pretty.
Yeah, all those period piece movies where it's just girls in dresses about relationships, hard for me to get into. I'm sorry. It's about girls like drinking tea and talking about
I can watch movies like Fast and the Furious. I can watch movies like all these action movies, but you can't watch a movie because of girls wearing a skirt.
I will say I liked Atonement.
Atonement's really similar to Pride and Prejudice.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, because I liked Atonement because it had the whole war aspect. Kind of drew me in.
It might be the same.
Director? I think it is the same director.
Because I think he also did Anna Karenina. Didn't they do all
Yeah,
of them?
I think he did all those 3 of those,
Yeah.
yeah. So, alright, maybe I'll check Pride and Prejudice. What else did you watch?
I'd rather you watch Pride and
Prejudice
than Pitch Perfect.
I might have more fun with Pitch Perfect, though.
True. But I feel like just in general you should watch Pride and Prejudice.
I'll give it a watch. What else did you see? That's 2. Back to the Future, Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice,
What
Pitch Perfect. I watched part of Pocahontas.
Oh, the Disney one. Okay. Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Played the voice of John. Yeah.
Bringing that out. I mean, I was on a Disney kick.
Okay.
I think I really watched How to Train Your Dragon 2. I had to go watch.
Okay.
Oh, I had to go watch Insurgent for review.
Why? Oh, you had to do it for review?
I had to review
okay.
it.
I was about to
And
say, why?
Now we're going to go watch Fast and Furious 7.
It's a shame, too, because I love Shailene Woodley, like her smaller roles. I love Spectacular Now was one of my favorite movies. I think she's a really good actress. I liked her in the one with George Clooney, The Descendants. But
she's stuck in this franchise.
She's stuck in this franchise.
They split up 3.
Yeah.
3's going to be 2
Oh,
films.
God. Of course it is.
So
Of course it is.
I feel bad. I think that her career's being not handled in the best anymore.
Get a new agent.
But she's now in this, and she has some really strong films. Like, I was a huge fan of Fault in Our Stars. People really liked it, and people really liked her in it. But I feel like now we're just recognizing her. She's not being the girl who was in Descendants. She's not being the girl who was in Spectacular Now. When people are talking about her, it's that they're talking about, some Fault in Our Stars, but it's the Divergent series and Sweet Life of an American Teenager.
Yes.
And she wants to be known as the other half of the film she's made.
Let me tell you something. Spectacular Now, I think she gave a great performance. I think it really is Miles Teller's film. But I love that movie. If you guys have not seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a real look at, like, relationships in high school and kind of how, like, it's not your fairy tale ending. I'm not saying it has a bad ending, but it's a realistic look, which is kind of like a movie the year before it came out was Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Yeah, which is also good.
Which is really good, but I felt like, at times, not real to me for some of the things the kids were doing.
That's off a book, though.
Yeah, it's off a book, and it felt a little more romanticized, I would say, whereas I felt like Spectacular Now was just more realistic.
Yeah, Spectacular Now was great. Always, to me, goes hand in hand with Way, Way Back.
Oh, really?
I kind of remember seeing them around the same time.
Yeah,
so.
I liked Way, Way Back, but not as much Spectacular Now. Did you like Way, Way Back more?
I liked both of them. I liked both of them a lot. But they're, like, kind of, like, in a pair in my mind. Just because they came around the same time. Just, like, the vibe of each of them, the style. I don't know.
I can understand that. All right, we're going to start a new segment. Sarah, you're the first person to do this segment with me. This is JT Movie Things. We're going to do something called Quick Thinks.
Okay.
I tweeted out earlier. I said, you know what? Tweet me the last movie you watched, and we'll bring some of them up on the show. And we'll just give, like, a quick think or two about what we think about these movies.
Let's see how many of these I've seen.
Yeah. Here's one I have not seen, which I think you mentioned earlier. Christopher James at Ninja Fanboy. Fanboy? It's a pretty cool Twitter name. Yeah, there's a lot of E's. He said, watching Cake right now.
Cake.
I did not see Cake.
So unbelievably depressing. I tried.
Is that the one with Jennifer Aniston?
Jennifer Aniston.
Okay.
She's suffering from where you feel so much pain that you can hardly move.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's like on a bunch of kind of like medication. She has like so much pain, like she can't like get up out of a chair.
Okay.
But it also deals with her like going back. She's dealing with this other woman who is suffering from a condition who jumped off of a bridge, and like it's kind of her relationship with them.
This was the Oscar push too. She was trying to get
Huge Oscar push.
Didn't work out. Yeah, failed. So
I watched this under bad setting. I just watched Unbroken.
Oof, that's a good movie, but
heavy, beautiful movie. Yeah. And then trying to go in and watch Cake. It was so hard to get through it. It's too much, too many depressing things.
You recommend it, but with a side note of be in the right place when you watch it.
Recommend it. I also understand why she didn't get nominated.
All right, here we go. Thanks, Christopher James. Maybe I'll check Kick Out sometime if I'm feeling really depressed.
If you want.
Jamie Foxx Jr.
Okay.
Tell your dad he was not good in Amazing Spider-Man 2. He saw a movie called Runaway Ralph. Have you heard of this? Jamie Foxx, congratulations. You stumped me and Sarah because we have never heard of this movie.
What is it?
Runaway Ralph.
Runaway Ralph. I've never heard.
I've never heard of it, guys, so...
now we have a homework assignment.
Yeah, all right. Jamie Foxx, man. Bring up the obscure movies. Tyler Myers, who's a big fan of Schmoeville and is always chatting with us. He's one of our biggest fans. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. One of my all-time favorite films.
Great movie.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about movies that I'm not a huge horror fan or anything.
Yeah.
And like, but this movie was great. Also scared the bejesus out of me.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
Just because of what they do to him there.
Yeah, and me and like I also get very emotionally attached to things. And, like, get scared of like going crazy or whatnot. But it's a classic film. I think everyone should see it. I think it stands the test of time. I think that he's fantastic. Cemented him for an actor.
Let me tell you,
an inspiration. And
when I was a young JTE and I was discovering film, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was one of the movies I fell in love with right away. And to this,
it like gives me heebie-jeebies.
It's freaky. Whenever someone asks me what's your top 5 favorite movies of all time, they switch around, but I'll tell you what, Cuckoo's Nest is always in there.
Really?
It'll always be in my top 10. Here we go. Obi-Wan Kenobi, named Chris Ordaz 75.
I love all Star Wars movies.
Yeah, he said Kickboxer with JCVD. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Kickboxer.
I have not seen this movie. I'm sorry. Is this my homework assignment?
This is your homework assignment.
If you watch Pride and Prejudice, I will watch this.
Okay, I will watch Pride and Prejudice if you watch Kickboxer.
Mm-hmm.
It's Van Damme at his best. I mean, it's early Van Damme. It's back when he was just in his physical prime. It's basically Mortal Kombat in like China. Pretty awesome movie.
I've seen Mortal Kombat.
Oh, there's a good one.
That one.
At TBW, which is JV status.
You just had a lot of letters.
Look at TBW is his name. At Twitter is JV status. All right. Cool name. He wrote Interstellar. Have you revisited this since theaters?
I have not revisited.
Nor have I.
But I did see it twice.
They did?
Once on 70 millimeter and once on 35.
Oh, okay.
So I did the whole Chinese theater extravaganza.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had gone in and made sure that he sat in every single seat and made sure that the sound was right.
Really?
Before he let them release that movie in 70 millimeter. I thought there were some stunning visuals, definitely. I just did not feel that great about it. I didn't think anyone did a typically bad job. I just wasn't synced into the story.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I saw it once. Some people told me it's better on second viewing. I picked it up on Blu-ray because I want to revisit it again. Say what you will about the story and plot holes. Visually, it's amazing. And again, so I could watch it just for that.
You can make stills out of that movie and make art.
Yeah, pretty much. And again, I'll tweet it out once I revisit it, and I might say whether I liked it more or less.
Well,
but
people were like, he was shut out for like the Oscars, and Interstellar deserves so much more. I think your movie really needs to fire on multiple levels. I mean, the cinematic presence, the visuals, the sound, that's great. Technically, I thought this was an astounding film. Story just missed the mark for me. I also think that although their actors did a really good job, I thought each one was kind of underutilized, where I never really fully connected to any of them. Okay. And you had great people in that movie that typically get a lot of sympathy. Like we can normally identify with Jessica Chastain. She pulls you in right away. Sandra Bullock, McConaughey. These are people that are known for being able to just draw an audience. And maybe it's because there's so many of them that I never got to know fully that I was like bouncing around. But
Yeah.
I didn't feel it.
Again, I need to revisit it. Aaron Smith at Aaron Smith Film said he watched Baby Geniuses. I don't know why you would watch it. I had never watched it once. I hope that's your first time and not a revisit, because I can't imagine anybody want to watch that more than once.
I think I watched that movie 10 years
Oh,
ago.
you actually watched it. Wow.
Once.
Poor babies. Those
I
poor
vaguely
babies.
remember it. That movie kind of goes in the category about the movies they make about dogs and cats to take over the world.
And they talk with animated mouths.
And you're kind of like, I don't really want to see this.
They're horrible. I don't know. Well, Joy Part 2, because there's a sequel to that movie somehow. Dalton Johnson at Dalton Johnson wrote Panic Room. David Fincher, early film. Now, I know you don't like horror films, but this is more of a thriller.
Yes. So I told you I don't really like horror films. This one, though, I think kind of fits in the critically acclaimed version.
Okay.
I mean, it's inspired a lot of films, that whole concept of having a panic room. So as an inspiration point, great film. But yeah, it's not one of my favorites.
It's like the one Fincher film no one really talks about. That and The Game.
Yeah,
with Michael Douglas. They're just not brought up when it comes to his biography.
That's because I can't say anything's really wrong with it off the top of my head. But do I go through my movie selection and be like, I really want to watch Panic Room again?
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, I remember I saw it in theaters. I was actually in South America, and I saw it with this theater full, Spanish people, and they were losing their minds. One other thing I realized traveling the world, theater experiences are different in other countries. Some are really quiet and timid. Some are it's like a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
At one point there's a scene where guys in slow motion chasing her up the stairs. You would have thought you were on a roller coaster at Magic Mountain the way people were acting in that theater. They're like, yo Dios mío. I mean, it was crazy. Have you ever experienced that?
Yes, but that's also funny how it can change a movie so much.
Yeah, it really
there's
can.
certain comedies you see where if you're in an audience that's laughing like crazy, somehow you love the movie.
You like it more.
Versus if you're seeing it alone and there's one awkward laugh, you're like, that really wasn't too great.
That's a good point, yeah.
And so you never know, and that might make sense why certain, especially action movies or ones
Fast
that
and
do
Furious.
call response internationally get such huge numbers because it does engage the audience.
Like I said, I saw Fast 7. I want to see it one more time in theaters, and when I do, I want to see it in a sold-out theater. Because it's such a fun ride that you feel like you're having that ride with the whole audience. And I think that definitely added to enjoyment of me watching it last night. It was just the theater was really into it. Laughing, hooting, and hollering. It was great. All right, one more. And again, thank you everybody who tweeted at me. There's over 40 of these. We can't do them all, unfortunately. We'll do one last one. Let's see. We'll go with... Okay. God, I choose the worst names. Here's one. Wally's 1700 at Wally's 1700. Name's Wallace. Source Code with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Never seen it.
You never saw it. Okay. It's Duncan Jones, the guy who directed Moon.
Okay.
Have you seen the trailer? You know what it's about, kinda?
Remind me.
It's like Groundhog Day on a train, except for only for 30 minutes.
Yes.
Basically, every 30 minutes he dies, and every time he dies, he comes back to the beginning of that 30 minutes where he's on a train that's about to explode.
Yes.
So
I have seen or know what this movie is. I've not seen it.
I don't know if I would recommend it like a high recommendation. I would say check it out just because.
If I'm bored.
Yeah, and Gyllenhaal gives a good performance like he usually does. And it is a cool concept, but
where did this movie fall in his career?
It happened when it wasn't that long ago. It was probably 2009 or something.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but it's got to be around that area. I saw it once. I never felt like the draw to watch it again. I feel like I kind of got everything. You all know what I just remembered? I didn't like the ending. If you end a movie with a bad ending that I don't like, and that's
ruins it.
And that's one of my biggest problems with Interstellar. I didn't love the ending of that movie. That's why I'm hoping I don't hate it. I won't say hate, but I'm hoping the ending makes a little more sense to me, or I could look over some of the problems I had on the second viewing.
Would you watch Edge of Tomorrow again? Did you see it?
Yeah, that's another one. I liked it. Didn't love it like everybody else.
Because talking about movies like
Source Code, definitely.
It's you really feel like you're watching the movie 50
over
times in a row
over,
it's the same scene. And I loved Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So
when I saw it, because I was really surprised.
Okay.
Because I thought I was going to hate it.
Yeah.
And when I rewatched it, and there's chunks of it that are really hard because you're like, wow, now I've seen this scene 50
times.
times instead
Yeah.
of the 25 I originally saw it with. And, like, that's really hard with a repetitive, like, Groundhog
Now imagine
like,
30
movie.
minutes.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like, that's draining because you know, like, it's just those minuscule things that you're focusing already on the first time.
Yeah.
And a wonderful rewatchability factor about movies is normally being able to notice the details.
Yeah.
But they're forcing you to notice the details in a time-lapse movie.
It's very true. I mean, I liked Edge of Tomorrow. Second time, I felt like I was watching it for the fourth time.
See?
And it's funny though how Groundhog Day, one of my favorite comedies by Bill Murray, doesn't really suffer that because it's more about the comedic situations. And each time you find something different, and he goes to different places, whereas Edge of Tomorrow is just kind of the same thing over and over.
Yeah, exactly.
And Source Code has the same problem.
I think that if you can still find... There's also, like, the comedy aspect versus... Like, Groundhog Day is very clearly comedic, and although you can find comedic elements in movies like Edge of Tomorrow, like the fact that Tom Cruise gets killed a million times is quite funny to me.
Okay.
But it's not strong comedy.
Yeah.
So watching dramatic events happen over and over again isn't typically as appealing.
I agree. Maybe someone will pull it off a little bit better in the future. Edge of Tomorrow 2, who knows? No, that movie didn't make enough money. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks again, Sarah, for joining me. I was going to say, where can they follow you on Twitter? As we know, you don't have Twitter. But you could find Sarah on Box Office Breakdown every Monday with me and Tom. You can also catch her on... Are you doing AfterBuzz shows at the moment?
Game of Thrones comes
back.
back.
Game of Thrones coming back. It's a big one. So you can catch her on Popcorn Talk Network and AfterBuzz TV. Do me a favor, if you're listening to this on iTunes, give me a review. If you feel like I gave you a 5-star podcast, give me 5 stars. Does that sound like I'm begging too much?
I'll beg for you. Give him 5 stars.
Thank you.
Come on.
Listen to Sarah, people. Thanks again, Sarah. This was fun. We do a show every Monday. We talk about the movies that are in theaters. It's nice to hear about some of the movies, that you've seen in the past. And I'm getting a little better sense of what your taste in movies is. I didn't know you were a big Lord of the Rings fan, though. Everyone knows that, right?
Yeah.
She's a huge Lord of the Rings fan, guys. Huge fan.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Thanks again for listening to JT Movie Things. You can follow me on Twitter at Schmoes JTE. Here on JT Movie Things and Schmoes Know Podcast every Thursday live from 6 to 8 on the YouTube channel Schmoes Know. All right, guys. Thanks God for listening. Thanks a lot for listening. I don't know. I messed that up. Have a good one, guys. Peace.